One phone call. That's all it took for Bumpy Johnson to make the mayor of New York back down. No guns, no threats, no violence. Just 10 words whispered into a telephone that made the most powerful politician in America go pale, cancel a military-style raid on Harlem, and personally apologize to the man he'd tried to destroy. But here's the thing nobody knows. The secret Bumpy used to break the mayor? It never happened. Bumpy wasn't even there. He just made the mayor believe he was. This is the story of the greatest bluff in mob history. August 1947. New York City was changing. World War II veterans were flooding back home. The economy was booming, and politicians were looking for easy wins, visible victories they could sell to white voters in Brooklyn and Queens. Harlem was the perfect target. Mayor William O'Dwyer had been elected on a reform platform: clean up the city, get tough on crime, make New York respectable again. Translation: shut down the black neighborhoods that white people were scared of. His advisors told him the same thing. You want to look strong. You want headlines. Go after Harlem's gambling operation. Go after Bumpy Johnson. August 14th, 1947. The mayor held a press conference on the steps of City Hall. 50 reporters, 10 cameras, every major newspaper in the city. O'Dwyer stood at the podium in his perfectly tailored suit, silver hair catching the afternoon sun, looking every bit the crusading politician. He cleared his throat and delivered his announcement. Starting next week, the NYPD will launch Operation Clean Sweep. We're going to shut down every illegal gambling operation in Harlem, every policy bank, every numbers runner, every criminal enterprise that preys on hard-working citizens. He paused for effect, staring directly into the cameras. And we're starting with Ellsworth Johnson, the gangster they call Bumpy. The reporters went wild, questions flying, flashbulbs popping. This was the headline they'd been waiting for. Mayor declares war on Harlem's underworld. O'Dwyer soaked it in, smiling that politician smile, already imagining his next election victory. The problem? Nobody had told Bumpy Johnson. That evening, Bumpy was at Small's Paradise on 135th Street. He was 42 years old, dressed in his usual impeccable style: navy blue suit, gold watch chain, shoes polished to mirrors. He was eating dinner with 3 Harlem businessmen, discussing a community fund for returning veterans. The restaurant was packed, jazz trio playing in the corner, laughter, conversation, the sound of a neighborhood at peace. Then Junie Bird walked in. Junie was 66 now, gray-haired, moved slow, but his mind was sharp as ever. He walked straight to Bumpy's table, leaned down, whispered something in his ear. Bumpy's expression didn't change. He just nodded slowly, wiped his mouth with his napkin, excused himself from the table. The 2 men walked into Small's back office and closed the door. Junie had a newspaper in his hand. Evening edition, still warm from the press. The headline took up half the front page. Mayor declares war on Harlem Kingpin. Bumpy read the article slowly, every word. When he finished, he folded the paper carefully, set it down on the desk. He lit a cigar, took a long drag, blew smoke toward the ceiling. Then he smiled. Not a happy smile. A dangerous smile. He wants headlines, Bumpy said quietly. Let's give him one. Here's what most people don't understand about Bumpy Johnson. He wasn't just a gangster. He was a student of human nature. He'd spent his entire life reading people, understanding what motivated them, what scared them, what they'd do to protect themselves. And politicians? Politicians were the easiest to read because everything they did came down to one thing: power, or more specifically, the appearance of power. Mayor O'Dwyer thought he was strong because he had the police, the courts, the newspapers on his side. He thought he could roll into Harlem with badges and guns and shut Bumpy down. But Bumpy knew something the mayor didn't. Every powerful man has a past, and the higher they climb, the more they have to hide. Over the next 3 days, Bumpy made phone calls, not to his crew, not to his enforcers, to historians, to retired cops, to old newspaper archivists, to people who remembered New York before O'Dwyer was mayor, before he was a judge, back when he was just another Irish kid from Brooklyn trying to make a name for himself. And Bumpy found something interesting. September 17th, 1927, 20 years earlier. A warehouse fire in Red Hook, Brooklyn. 3 people died. The official report said it was an accident, faulty wiring, tragic loss of life, investigation closed. But there were rumors, whispers that it wasn't an accident at all, that someone had set that fire to cover up something else, that a young lawyer named William O'Dwyer had been seen near that warehouse the night it burned. The rumors never went anywhere. No evidence, no witnesses, just speculation. O'Dwyer went on to become a prosecutor, then a judge, then mayor. The warehouse fire became a forgotten footnote in Brooklyn's history, until Bumpy Johnson started asking questions about it. Here's the genius of what Bumpy did next. He didn't investigate the fire. He didn't try to prove O'Dwyer was guilty of anything. Because Bumpy understood something crucial. It didn't matter if the mayor had actually done anything wrong. What mattered was whether the mayor thought Bumpy had proof. August 18th, 1947, 4 days after the press conference, Bumpy made his move. He called the mayor's office, not as Bumpy Johnson. He used a different name, said he was a reporter from the Amsterdam News, Harlem's biggest black newspaper. Said he wanted to schedule an interview with Mayor O'Dwyer about Operation Clean Sweep. The secretary was thrilled. Of course, Mr. Mayor would be happy to speak with you. How about tomorrow at 2 p.m.? Perfect, Bumpy said, and then, almost as an afterthought, he added one more thing. Tell the mayor we'll be discussing his time in Brooklyn, specifically September 1927. I think our readers would be very interested in that part of his history. The line went dead quiet for a second. Then the secretary said she'd pass along the message and hung up. That message reached Mayor O'Dwyer within 10 minutes. His chief of staff walked into the mayor's office, closed the door, and repeated what the secretary had told him. The Amsterdam News. Interview about Operation Clean Sweep. And they want to ask about September 1927. The mayor's face went white. His hands started shaking. September 1927, the warehouse, the fire, the rumors that had almost destroyed his career before it started. Why would they ask about that? What did they know? Who had talked? The chief of staff tried to calm him down. It's probably nothing, sir. Just a reporter fishing for dirt. We can cancel the interview. But the mayor wasn't listening. He was thinking. 20 years. He'd buried that night for 20 years, built an entire career on top of it. And now, right when he was going after Harlem's biggest criminal, someone was digging it back up. That couldn't be coincidence. Cancel the interview, O'Dwyer said. His voice was tight. And cancel Operation Clean Sweep. The chief of staff blinked. Sir, I said cancel it, postpone it. Tell the press we need more planning time. Just get it off the schedule. But sir, we've already announced it. The press is expecting. I don't care what they're expecting. Do it. Now. The chief of staff left. O'Dwyer sat alone in his office, staring out the window at the city he governed, and felt the walls closing in. The next day, the mayor's office released a statement. Operation Clean Sweep has been postponed pending further review and resource allocation. We remain committed to addressing crime in all New York neighborhoods, but we want to ensure we do it properly and effectively. The press called it a delay. Political analysts called it cold feet. The NYPD called it bureaucracy. But in Harlem, everyone knew what it really was. Bumpy Johnson had made the mayor blink. Nobody knew how, but everyone knew it had happened. 3 days later, Bumpy got a phone call. No name, just a voice. Gruff Brooklyn accent. This is a friend of the mayor's. He'd like to speak with you, in person, privately. Where? There's a coffee shop on Fulton Street in Brooklyn. Tomorrow, 9 a.m., come alone. Bumpy smiled. Tell him I'll be there. The next morning, Bumpy Johnson walked into a small coffee shop in downtown Brooklyn. It was nearly empty. Just a few workers grabbing breakfast before their shifts. And in the back corner booth, wearing sunglasses and a hat pulled low, sat Mayor William O'Dwyer. Bumpy slid into the booth across from him. The mayor looked like he hadn't slept in days. His hands were wrapped around a coffee cup, knuckles white. He didn't look up when Bumpy sat down. What do you want? O'Dwyer's voice was barely above a whisper. Bumpy leaned back, casual, comfortable. He lit a cigar, took his time. I want you to leave Harlem alone. That's it? That's it. You cancel your crusade, you leave my neighborhood in peace, and we never speak again." The mayor finally looked up. His eyes were red, desperate. "The warehouse. Do you have proof?" Bumpy took a long drag from his cigar. "Let's just say I was there that night." The mayor's breath caught. "You? You were 17 years old in 1927. You weren't even in New York. I was everywhere, Mr. Mayor. And I remember things. Things that courts and juries would be very interested in hearing about." O'Dwyer's hands started shaking again. "If this gets out, it'll destroy me. My career, my family, everything." Bumpy's face remained expressionless. "Then I guess you know what you need to do." The mayor closed his eyes, took a long breath. "Okay. Okay. No more Operation Clean Sweep, no more raids, no more press conferences about Harlem. You have my word." Bumpy stood up. "Your word better be good, Mr. Mayor, because if I see one cop car in Harlem that doesn't belong there, if I hear one politician talking about cleaning up my neighborhood, I'm going straight to the newspapers with what I know." He started to walk away, then paused, turned back. "Oh, and one more thing. That community center you shut down last year on 125th Street, the one that was helping kids stay off the streets, you're going to reopen it. Full funding. Consider it a gesture of goodwill." The mayor nodded, defeated. He watched Bumpy Johnson walk out of that coffee shop, and he knew his war on Harlem was over before it had even begun. Within a week, Operation Clean Sweep was officially canceled. The mayor's office issued a statement about focusing resources on other priorities. The community center on 125th Street got a surprise grant from the city, and William O'Dwyer never publicly mentioned Bumpy Johnson's name again. But here's the part of the story that makes it legendary. 10 years later, in 1957, Bumpy was sitting in his office above Small's Paradise. Junie Bird walked in with a question that had been bothering him for a decade. "Boss," he said, "that thing with the mayor, the warehouse fire. Were you really there that night? Did you actually see what happened?" Bumpy looked up from his newspaper, took off his reading glasses, smiled. "Junie, I was 17 years old in 1927. I was in Charleston, South Carolina. I didn't come to New York until 1928. I've never been to Red Hook in my life. I have no idea what happened at that warehouse." Junie's mouth fell open. "Then how did you—" "I read about it in old newspapers, the rumors, the speculation, and I made an educated guess about what kind of man runs for mayor, the kind who's running from something. So I called his bluff and made him think I knew his secret. Turns out I was right." "You bluffed him?" Bumpy nodded. "The best weapon isn't a gun, Junie. It's making someone believe you have one. But you never confirmed you had evidence. You never actually said you were there." "Exactly. I let him fill in the blanks himself. Guilty men always assume you know more than you do. That's what makes them dangerous and predictable." Junie just stared at him. "That's the coldest thing I've ever heard." Bumpy went back to his newspaper. "That's why I'm still here, and the mayor isn't. Because here's the truth. Mayor O'Dwyer resigned in 1950, moved to Mexico, never came back to New York. The official story was health reasons, but people who knew whispered about scandals, about secrets that were about to come out, about a man who'd climbed too high on a foundation of lies. Whether that warehouse fire actually happened the way the rumors said, whether O'Dwyer was guilty of anything at all, nobody knows for sure. What we do know is that Bumpy Johnson understood something fundamental about power. The people who have it are terrified of losing it, and fear is the strongest weapon in the world. Bumpy never needed proof of the mayor's guilt. He just needed the mayor to believe he had proof, and that belief was enough to end a war before it started. One phone call, 10 words, September 1927. That's all it took. No guns, no violence, no bloodshed, just the strategic application of a guilty conscience and the understanding that powerful men will destroy themselves trying to protect their secrets. The mayor thought he was going to war with a gangster. Instead, he went to war with his own past. And Bumpy Johnson, he just lit the match and watched it burn. If this story showed you that the most dangerous weapon isn't violence, it's information, hit that subscribe button. Drop a like if you understand that real power is making people believe you know their secrets. Share this with someone who needs to understand that the smartest move is the one your enemy makes for you. And let me know in the comments, would you have taken Bumpy's approach or gone a different route? More legendary stories coming next. Don't miss it.